everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show YouTube channel. The best way to support the show on this YouTube channel is to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and or share it with a friend. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode, and whichever way you choose to support the show, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. I hope that today's message and episode brings some bit of positive change to your life. Hello everyone, welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I am your host, Emily Hayden, and today we are talking all about truth behind major media. So today we have here with us a reporter who actually called out Fox on live air. Ivory Hecker, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So before we get to that monumental moment that thousands of people saw online, many people, I first want to start off by asking, give me a little bit of your background in journalism, maybe your education, and what kind of got you into it in the first place.
Yeah, I got my broadcast journalism degree from Syracuse University. And I wanted to get into journalism because of the power that information provides to people. When people have the information they need to know what's really going on and to know what will benefit them or hurt them, that gives them an immense amount of power to live their lives the way that they see fit. So that's been the benefit of the free press throughout history. And so I wanted to be a part of the free press and putting the First Amendment to use. Mm-hmm. That's why I got into it.
That's so cool. So tell me about that first job that you landed out of school. How did it feel to finally be doing what you'd worked so hard for?
It was exciting. First job was at the Fox affiliate in South Carolina, Columbia, and it was actually absolutely brutal. It was just...
Was it?
Yeah. TV news is really rough starting out. You really have to get through some tough years before it starts to get fun.
What makes it so tough? Is it the scheduling or the amount of work you're doing?
Yeah, there were long hours, a lot of just figuring out the hard way because these were things that I'd never done before. And people don't realize you're doing all aspects of news yourself. So finding the stories, doing the research, shooting the video, editing the video, writing the scripts. Yeah. And then actually writing and publishing web stories as well. So you're doing all of it. And it's long hours, and any mistakes, your face is on it, and you reap the repercussions. Mm-hmm. And so and then the pay is terrible starting out. So it's just struggling, So the beginning is so hard. Yeah. And then it really starts to get fun a few years later.
Okay. But I feel like, is that kind of the initiation? Like everyone has to go through that?
Totally. And you see so many people fall out in the beginning.
I bet. They probably get there like, wow, this is not what I expected.
Yeah. I would say like the class I graduated with from college, probably the majority of them, didn't make it past. A huge percentage didn't even land their first TV job because it's hard to even land that. And then when they realize that this isn't glamour, this is brutal, then like half of the rest fell off.
So when you're starting out, do you like immediately go onto camera, or are you behind the scenes when you start out?
If you want to make it on air and TV, you need to start out on air. And so you need to find a TV station that will let you start out on air, which is going to be a small TV station. And that's why I landed in this small town, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the capital city of South Carolina, but it's a lot smaller than Houston. Mm-hmm. So, there's people who start out behind the scenes and one day make it on TV, but that's actually a lot more rare. If you don't start out on camera, it's really hard to get on camera.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So if you're always behind the scenes, just jumping to on camera, I feel like would be a really big leap.
Exactly.
So, okay, talk to me about your evolution of starting at this small station to where you ended, and just kind of the different jobs that you had and the different responsibilities that it entailed, and maybe some of the things that you started to become aware to as you were like deeper and deeper into mainstream media.
So then I I only spent 1 year at that TV station. I tried to move up as quickly as possible because it was brutal. So I was able to land a better job in a year, which was fantastic. Went to the NBC affiliate in Lexington, Kentucky, which was also just brutal. But it was fantastic. Actually, the work ethic they taught me there, and learning to pride yourself in hard work and difficult situations, and actually take some honor from that. Like, wow, I respect myself more because I conquered today.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was a huge growth experience for me in Lexington, Kentucky, which is just like the Wild West. There's like nowhere else in America like the eastern half of the state of Kentucky. And I covered the entire eastern half of the state of Kentucky. Yeah, it was just crazy. It was like lawless and just like some of the accents were so thick you'd had to write subtitles. And it was just a whole different culture. And anyway, it was a fantastic learning experience. I hated it while I was there, but when I came out of it, I had like grown so much spiritually.
Right. I feel like when you get pushed to the edge, that's your only option is either like sink or swim. Yeah. You know, at this point, you're either going to grow or you're going to die there.
Exactly. Yeah. And the deadlines were crazy. And there were days where you would be doing news for 7 shows in one day.
How many hours is that?
I would probably work only like no more than 10 hours, but packing news into like the noon, the 4, the 5, the 5:30, the 6, the 7. And so, it was just so hard because you'd have to create something original for each one, and you're editing it all yourself and feeding in video and then getting in front of the camera. People don't realize when you get to a bigger city, then you're working with a crew. But in those small cities, it's all you. So it actually teaches you a lot, which is great.
I don't think people know that. You know, I think when people watch the news, they think like you have a whole team there supporting you, and you're just the one in front of the camera saying something.
Exactly.
That's
they
crazy.
Have no idea. Yeah. So I'm a professional videographer, a professional editor. So in journalism school, they teach you how to be a professional videographer, a professional editor, and I didn't realize that going into it. And they're like, oh, this is your video editing class. And I was like, what? I didn't know that was a part of this. Right. And then I fell in love with it.
Wow.
Editing is such an art.
It is. Yeah. It's fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So really your creative process and everything. So it was amazing to master that. Amidst the chaos of Kentucky, where you're driving on the edge of cliffs, literally, it was like hills and mountains out there, and you're on deadline. So you're driving as fast as you can on this single lane road. The roads in Kentucky were like none other.
Oh my gosh.
Rural as it gets, like barely fitting your car. And so if another car approaches from the opposite direction, you have to slam on the brakes and someone has to reverse until you figure out a way to get around each other.
Oh my gosh.
But your car tires are like inches away from falling off of a cliff when you're driving to these crazy crime scenes and things that would happen in Kentucky.
So you're probably a fantastic driver.
I am, yeah, because of that. You know, one of my coworkers actually was not so fortunate. He drove to the right just a few inches too far, and his car flipped off of one of those Kentucky cliffs and hurt his ankles. But
okay, but he made it. Okay, wow, that's terrifying though.
Yeah, so it was just like all the adrenaline you could ask for in Kentucky.
What a wild time. So how long were you there?
For 2 years, and then it was on to NBC in Minneapolis, which was a huge jump, and that's where, okay, I'm working with a team now, and oh my gosh, I'm on the anchor desk. And then 2 years there, and then I came to Houston, which was even bigger and better, and working for actual Fox Corp, working for the Murdochs, and then when the pandemic came, I really saw the narrative really get controlled, and suddenly it was less about the facts I was collecting on the ground, and more about, okay, what's the narrative that we have to report from on high?
Wow.
Yeah.
How would the higher ups deliver that message to you that, hey, this is what we're going to say? And would they like just directly say, don't say X, say Y?
Yeah, sometimes they would. Yeah, sometimes they would. And I first really realized that. I mean, it was just such a series of events, but I first really realized that when they sent me to cover COVID treatment at a hospital last year, and I allowed the doctor to say what he uses, which one thing he uses happened to be a controversial drug that the narrative had said we're no longer going to talk about. That's hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, right.
And so, you know, summer of last year was the cutoff with the narrative, like we're no longer naming that drug. And, you know, and these narratives are never spoken. All the media members are just supposed to take the cue, like, oh yeah, we're not talking about that anymore, are we? Okay. But I was just a straight shooter with the facts on the ground and the fact that this doctor is using this. And by the way, the death rate at his hospital is remarkably lower than other hospitals.
Wow.
And he uses a whole list of things, and we went through that, and I reported everything he uses. But because of, you know, that wasn't a part of the narrative, Fox actually came at me very aggressively, and they put me on a social media ban where I wasn't allowed, just a blackout. I couldn't post anything.
On your personal page, you couldn't post anything?
all my social media.
They're able to do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
My contract says that Fox owns my social media. It's really sad.
Wow.
It's a very aggressive contract. And then they banned me from covering the topic of COVID drug treatments anymore after that. You know, after they sent me to him, they assigned me to his story. I was just supposed to know what the narrative was and not let him say certain things or edit them out if he said that.
Wow.
And I didn't do that. And so they were really punishing me. So
as you did it, did you know this is going to get me in trouble?
Yeah, it's instinctually. And because like reporters who've been in it for 9 years, like I had, it's like you get what you do kind of, everyone feels out the unspoken narrative.
I see.
And so I was like, yeah, I can tell that the corporate media is triggered by this drug, but you know, this is a good soundbite that my audience is asking a lot. I was getting so many questions about that drug, and here this guy uses he uses it in his hospital. So I was like, I'm definitely going to keep that part in the story.
Right, because as a journalist, that's part of it, right? Is being able to tell the whole story. Because if not, you have to look at like what narrative is being pushed
and answer the audience's questions is one of the primary things a journalist should do. You know, otherwise you're going to lose your audience. Your primary goal is to be of service to your audience. What are their questions to get them answered? Well, my inbox was blowing up with questions about that drug, by the way. So when the media had gone into silence about it, it was like, I know that that's my cue to go into silence too. But the questions were coming even more than ever after media went into silence. So I was trained at Syracuse Broadcast Journalism School, one of the best BJ schools in the world, that what you do is you keep your loyalty to the viewers and you answer their questions. The first obligation of a journalist is to put their audience first and stay loyal to the truth. And so anyway, I just, that's what got me in trouble was actually my loyalty to the viewers and getting their question answered by not editing out that soundbite that they had been asking about.
Wow. So is this the first time that you kind of got in trouble like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was crazy. So they ended up writing a letter of warning, which included lies about me, put it in my file, which at the bottom of that letter was a threat to fire me if I do this again.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, if I do what again? If I go to a story you assigned me to and allow the person to say what they're doing, that could get me fired? Okay, then what is my job anymore?
Wow.
So I could get fired for anything you're saying. So, Yeah, that was the crazy part. And, you know, they defamed me in that letter, and the letter destroys my ability to move up in the company, which Fox News was looking at me at the time. I mean, I was all primed for another big promotion, and here they try to destroy me for one narrative slip up, because in the pandemic, the narrative was that holy.
Wow. This is, I mean, I know I speak for all my audience that's listening right now. This is absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
You have one little thing where you shared simply truth of what the doctor's actually doing, and they immediately reprimand you and immediately make you unable to get the promotion that you were getting primed for. Like, that is, I think that speaks to what's actually going on behind the scenes. So from there, where did things go from there? Like, so you have this realization, okay, I'm getting in trouble for speaking truth. So what happened next?
So yeah, that was last August into September, and at one point there, I just like literally sat in my room and like cried, because it dawned on me, I no longer want to be a part of this amazing company I used to love. And because this is what they're willing to stoop to. So if I stay with them through this, they have all control over me. They know they can push me around for whatever, because I'll put up with this. So I was like, I've got to get out of this company. And then it dawned on me further, and the other corporations are no better. They're probably worse. So I was like, I want out of the corporate news. This is so sad. So after that, I was just trying to find a way to get out of my contract, because it was a very aggressive contract. And that's, you know, fast forward a few months, that's when I collided with Project Veritas, who helped blast my story out and make it viral. And, you know, they're the ones who actually were like, what if you call Fox out live on TV?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I don't think that's necessary. And then it dawned on me, that's the only way to get out of my contract, is to call them, is to dare them to fire me. Because if they fire me, they obliterated the contract, not me. So I'm free.
Wow. So it all came to this point where, do you remember what you said in that news interview? You were reporting on something, and you were like, and by the way.
Yeah, it was a hot Texas day, and this June, so just a few months ago, and I was assigned to cover the heat and how all these air conditionings had been breaking down. I was covering air conditionings and how they were broken down. Supplies were sold out. And yeah, so as soon as the anchor tossed to me, I just went straight into saying, look, I was like, I want you, the viewers, to know that Fox Corp has been muzzling me to keep certain information from you, the viewers. Because it wasn't just that, it wasn't just the COVID drug treatment. There were a lot of other things. And one of the most alarming things to me is when we saw unprecedented social media censorship like we'd never seen before in history. And with the monopoly social media now has on information, I mean, social media is so addictive. We all love it, right? And there's just this little handful of social media corporations who've gotten everybody addicted to them. And suddenly they have turned on their censorship. And because people only turn to them, the censorship's actually working to suppress a lot of information. And so that's a concern, because this is something that we learn about a lot in journalism school, is that the importance of the free press is the free sharing of ideas. And once there's widespread censorship, that opens the door for corruption to blossom. And so when I had posted a little vlog just addressing that topic, just be aware of this is some crazy social media censorship. The First Amendment's still intact, and we can find other avenues to share information. But because there's a monopoly right now, like, the censorship's working. And by the way, this is the same censorship China has been using for years on their people, because I studied China. China wanted to hire me at one point. And so I had researched China and saw how crazy their censorship was. And then a few years later, it was implemented in the United States. And that freaked me out, because China's a communist nation and their people have very little liberty. So, I talked about all of that in the vlog. And Fox came at my throat for that. And that was the other giant red flag with Fox, where I was like, I got to get out, because I can't even stand up for the principles of journalism now.
Wow.
Like, the basics of free speech is important. Censorship can lead to the taking away of your liberties. Throughout history, it's always been that way. You know, before Hitler took over, he shut down the free press. You know, this is what they do. And now Fox is saying you can't talk like that. You can't educate people about this. Excuse me, a free press, our free press, Fox Corp, can't even survive without free speech. So what are you saying? So that was a giant red flag for me.
Girl, I have chills right now. I'm inspired by just everything that you're saying, because right now more than ever, we need people that are standing up and speaking truth and not afraid to, you know, say it to their faces and to say it to the people that are forcing this narrative, whether it be in the medical industry. You know, I've been interviewing a lot of nurses and conversations with doctors, and they're having the same thing happen, where the higher ups are just saying, this is what they're doing. And they're saying, but you know, the science doesn't match that. Right. So I think in every single industry right now, we need more people like you that are willing to speak up and to share the truth. You know, on your Instagram bio, I believe it says something like love people and speak the truth. And so it's very evident to me that integrity is just so hardwired into you. Do you believe that that's from your from your schooling? Where does that come from? Because clearly there's a lot of people in your same industry that don't have the level of integrity that you do.
Well, fear controls people a lot, and I think my former colleagues, most of them are good people with good hearts, but also with a lot of fear, and they're not willing to take that leap to completely align with their values if it means forfeiting their corporate career. And because, believe me, it was extremely nerve-wracking for me, and I don't have, you know, kids to provide for or anything,
right?
So I don't hold anything against them. I understand that they're living in a lot of fear, but I had a big spiritual growth year in 2019 that I think really prepared me for what was to come with the corruption in the corporate news.
Can we get into that a little bit? I'm so interested. Yeah. What was that like, and how do you feel it prepared you?
Well, it was, you know, I've always been pretty spiritual, but 2019, I mean, it started with having this boyfriend that I was like, I would just love to marry this guy. And then I learned he was cheating on me, and it was so devastating.
Wow.
But I really believe in law of attraction. And I was like, wow. So I was vibing at the level of betrayal myself. That's why I brought in a betrayer. And it felt like such a slap in the face to me. And I took responsibility for it. And I was like, if I don't fix my own vibe, I'm 100% going to attract another betrayer. And I never want to go through this again. So I really delved into my spirituality and really humbled myself immensely, and was like, no, I want to really stare myself in the mirror and figure myself out, and how I can lift myself out of this and just only bring good things into my life. And I realized that I was not trusting life enough. And, you know, how you can look at someone across the room and think, oh, they're probably judging me. You know, some people just instinctually think that. And that's the not trusting life programming that a lot of us just have built into us. And so I realized that I need to switch a flip in my head and just decide that all of life is supporting me, and that person across the room is probably admiring me, and, you know, and like thinking I'm wonderful and wanting success for me. And then that makes me want success for them. And so I decided to see goodness in everything, see love, and just admire as many people as possible. And just created this habit in my mind of just trusting life and seeing the good things. There's so many bad things to focus on, but if we focus on the good, it's going to bring up more good.
Yeah.
And to help with that, I started meditating daily. I was reading the book Law of Attraction by Esther and Jerry Hicks. Strongly recommend that book. And I started doing Kundalini yoga. I did a few Reiki sessions, which is incredible. Reiki. Look it up. Incredible. And so, and I went to sound baths as well, which had an amazing effect on my aura and just calming. And I did this heart chakra meditation right after the breakup, where you get into this meditative state and you have a conversation with your heart. And ask, what's wrong, heart? And the immediate thought that comes to your head is the heart's answer. I'm sad. Why are you sad, heart? And then you have this conversation. And you just come to this really just raw, real focus on how your heart is really feeling. And what happened in that meditation is I felt my heart just explode open. I felt so much love once my heart realized that it was really being looked at. So then after that, I did everything to keep my heart open. And I realized I need to keep my guard down and my heart open for the best chance at success in life. And that just authenticity was more important to me than ever. I started to live like I was dying and just keeping it so real after that, and just being so real, and actually telling people what's on your mind instead of holding it back and misunderstanding each other. And forgiving easier was a big thing. So there were some family members I realized that there were misunderstandings with, and we both thought the other one was wrong. And so I cold called those people out of the blue and was just like, I'm sorry for my role in this, and I forgive everything you've done, and I just want to have a great relationship, and I love you. And it was beautiful, and it was just like, just making those calls, it's so hard to do it when you've got this rift that's formed with someone, to just cold call them and actually say something wonderful and honestly let your guard down and know they may lash back at you, but at least you've done everything you can to just create love and peace. So I did those hard things to create this pathway of love, joy, and peace, and realized how fleeting life is, and that we just need to, those feelings of love, joy, and peace are more important than any accomplishment, really. And so that just really created this momentum. By the end of 2019, I was just basically intoxicated in love every day. Everything.
Amazing.
Everything. It's crazy. I got into such meditative states. Meditation's a beautiful thing. And I started with the Headspace app. Highly recommend that. Highly recommend the Headspace app. It is a great starter for meditation. And, but I eventually started songwriting out of nowhere, because I had finally peeled off the layers of ego. I think we all have this beautiful creative space somewhere in us that gets buried by our identity that we've created based on what other people have said our identity is. But when we peel it all back, drop it all, let our guard down, and just say, what's really up, heart? And then it'll create space for your heart to actually speak. And my heart spoke through song. So I magically became the songwriter. Some of the songs were written in my sleep, straight inspiration. So I went to my first open mic night. After that, I was like, I should do something with my songs. And it was just the most intoxicating experience. Just like when you just take people for who they are, and every single person who got up on stage, I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. And I just was like in love with everyone on stage, and came away from that and wrote another song that night based on the inspiration from that, which became the first song I produced. But that relationship I built with my heart, I guess, carried me into 2020. And just the being authentic with people, and just, if you appreciate someone, let them know that, say that. And if you don't understand something with them and a rift is building, address it right away in a loving way. And so that's what I started to do. But anyway, that led to a brutal 2020, which I think I would not have handled as well had I not created that spiritual momentum. It went into losing my dad. My dad was killed.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was devastating. He was killed in an accident, and I had already started living like I was dying, and had actually created a beautiful relationship with him. So I'll forever be grateful for 2019 just for that. Wow. Because those final months with him were so special, and I didn't have to live with regrets after that. So I encourage anyone, if you have any relationship with someone that you care about that is on the rocks right now, overcome your ego and handle it now. As bad as you want to blame them and not call them and say you're sorry, just apologize for your role, because that person could die tomorrow. And I get to spend the rest of my life knowing that I lived like I was dying before my dad died, so that there was nothing I didn't say to him.
Wow.
I had said it all. I had talked to him like this was going to be our last conversation. And so that was beautiful, but it was devastating losing him, and it was a reminder of how fleeting life is. So then it was even more of a reminder to live like you're dying, because any of us could be next. So appreciate life that much more and do exactly what you would like to do. But mainly make sure you're having love, joy, and peace in your heart.
Wow.
Which only comes through letting your guard down. And so I'm so grateful that, having a cheater led to my heart opening more, because sometimes people close down their hearts after that. But I think the only way to really win and overcome that is to open your heart even bigger and pour out love without any requirement that it's reciprocated. Wow. Because love is limitless in our hearts. So if we just let it flow and give it as a gift to whoever, it feels so good to give love to others. We don't need it back because the source of it within us is endless. And so we never have to have fear of, oh, am I loving this person too much? No, because your source of love is endless. And all you're doing is blessing them and yourself when you're loving people. So anyway,
thank you. Thank you for taking us on that journey just now. That was immensely beautiful. What you really described was taking the time to really work on yourself, to work on your heart, and to first love yourself and to give yourself that love, and also to let yourself be seen. A lot of people want to be seen by everybody else. They want to be seen by their partner or by people online. And the truth is, before anyone else can see you, you have to take time and truly see you. That exercise you were talking about, I think, is beautiful. I'm huge on action steps and having people, do an exercise after. So I think your action step today, guys, is for you to try that exercise, to get still, practice some meditation, and to have a conversation with your heart and allow your heart that time and that space to be seen and express love to yourself, and, sit in whatever emotion or whatever feeling it is that you're sitting in. And I want to echo what you said about making amends and forgiveness. Forgiveness is so powerful. And, it sounds like in your experience, it was something that led to a really beautiful relationship that ultimately you ended up losing, from your father, which I'm, so sorry to hear about that. I can only imagine, the strength that you've had to have throughout what was already a difficult year for a lot of people. And I see now, your purpose that has come out of it, being able to be that voice for people to say, we all say live like you're dying, but like truthfully live that way, love that way, express yourself that way, you know, leave no stone unturned, leave nothing unsaid. So I think your message is really powerful. It's really beautiful. I am curious, how did your dad feel about your journalism and the things that you were doing and your strong voice with that and your desire to go independent? Was he around when you did that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He loved seeing me, accomplish my goals. But he wasn't around when I went independent, but losing him prepared me for going independent.
Wow. How so?
Because it was just more of a reminder of what really matters. What really matters is not corporate status. What really matters is staying true to your heart and staying authentic and following what you know is right. And so that growth through 2019 going into 2020 and then early 2020 losing my dad and then mid 2020 Fox turning really crooked, it was like, well, I care so much more about keeping it real, being truthful, and standing up for what's right, which is, I shouldn't be bullied just for providing information to my viewers like I was taught to do in journalism school. And so, them harassing me and threatening to fire me as a strategy to bring me closer to them, to make me a more loyal corporate employee. Fear creates loyalty. Like when you're most terrified to get fired by your corporation, you'll do everything that they want. But it was like I had lost too much fear, especially with losing my dad and knowing that any of us could be gone tomorrow. Why live in fear? And for some reason, I became more detached from physical things, in all aspects, honestly. And so I was a little bit more, I had been so identified with my corporate career, but just when you feel who you really are to such a level like that, where your life just feels so full, regardless of any circumstances, you realize that the circumstances don't matter so much. And so I was willing to just, that detachment from the corporation allowed me to just say, take it or leave it with my bosses, and just be very just firm with my loyalty to journalism. And regardless of how much they tried to manipulate me.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you say is essentially that you had to break free from this identity of being, with the corporate office and with corporate media. And I think it's hard for people to break free from identities that they have pursued for so long for a lot of great reasons, right? I'm in the bodybuilding world, so a lot of us as competitors, a lot of them will find their identity in competing. But it's hard because it's like when you're not competing anymore, then all of a sudden you feel lost, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to know who you are beyond the current positions in society that you currently hold, because we are incredible beings without ever having to achieve anything or without any status, any physical thing. So I think the more that people can work on their spirituality and their journey as, working on their heart and things like that, the more they can discover that. And what it brings is freedom. It brings freedom to be fully who you are in every and in any circumstance.
Yes.
So where now do you practice your free speech and bring the truth to your viewers? Kind of give us the lowdown of where we can find true news stories that we know we can count on and rely on for the truth.
Yeah, well, what we're seeing is the free market explode with, free speech is still alive and well. Like we're seeing independent journalists just come up everywhere, and I'm one of the new independent journalists. And
congratulations, it's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so delighted that I was able to continue the journalism that I love. Going so viral this summer, I went viral worldwide. Like millions of people saw the video of me calling out Fox Live on air, and now I literally have people following me from like Australia and all over the world. But that allowed me, growing my following like that allowed me to be able to launch my independent journalism. And so I have my independent, uncensored website, because all the social media platforms are censored. It's really sad. So
I'm very censored on Instagram.
Oh, really?
And YouTube is, I've had to download all my YouTube videos because I know any day now it's going away. So I talk about everything.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Bleep out the H word. I said the H word for you.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
YouTube doesn't like that drug. But anyway, so my website that's part of it. ivoryhecker.com. I upload original journalism there, and then I'm doing more YouTube news as well.
Okay, and do you have to like censor a little bit for that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I do. Sadly, they have a lot of things that the viewers are. Some of the things our viewers are most interested in right now are what YouTube doesn't want journalists talking about, which is probably why the viewers are so interested in it. But anyway, so I'm trying to get those direct questions answered. And I have like a YouTube mentor who's like, no, you can't talk about that or that. And I'm like, well, that's everything my viewers want to know about. So I'm kind of getting around it with code words and things.
Gotcha.
But yeah, my main goal as an independent journalist now is to specifically cover the stories that the viewers aren't getting answers to in the corporate news. So a lot of times I don't even cover the same stories the corporate news is covering. I'm diverting to these unanswered questions.
So if people want to listen to your news, they can go to your website. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, ivoryhecker.com, just my name. And then YouTube is youtube.com/ivoryhecker.
And if they want to hear some of your music and your lyrics, where can they go for that?
Oh, yeah, just search on Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music or wherever. Amazon Prime Music. Ivory Hecker is my name. I have 4 songs out now, but I just went in the studio again last weekend. So I'm pretty excited because every single song I've written was pure inspiration. Like, it took 0 effort to write. It just like poured out of my heart. Yeah. And so that's why I was like, well, I should do something with them because they came straight from inspiration. And one time when this old couple heard, I was like practicing all to myself because I was like, I don't know where these songs came from, but this is cool. And I was like practicing it on my guitar, and this old couple starts bawling their eyes out listening to me. I was like, wait, other people like my music? And so then so that's when I was like, I guess maybe I should produce it. So I only produced 4 of the songs so far, but dozens have come to me. So I'm going to produce some more.
That's incredible. And I love that you're allowing yourself this other creative outlet, because a lot of what you do is really creative, but music is such a different section. I'll have to show you downstairs, but I have a little music room with like a little piano, a little guitar. I love to go out there and just jam. It's kind of my way to release. And I go into this like meditative state where most of the time I have a lot of thoughts in my head. And when I do that, there's no thoughts. Yeah,
that's what art does. And I highly recommend any person try to do some sort of art. If it's painting or whatever, it does such a beautiful thing to your soul.
It does. Well, while we wrap up here, I wanted to ask one more question. What would you say to the person who currently works in news and they're feeling a lot of the same feelings that you were feeling? They know that they are not, standing within alignment within their core values by staying where they're at, but they're in that fearful position of leaving. Maybe they want to do independent journalism. Maybe they want to do a whole different career, but they're feeling that fear. They just know that they're feeling this kind of resistance to where they're at now. What kind of advice could you give to them, being that you've experienced that yourself?
Well, there's value in real journalists staying in the newsroom as long as they're holding their boss's feet to the fire. And that's a very scary thing to do, to call out your own boss. That's a great way to get fired. Right. But that's what I ended up doing. I called out my own bosses. But when they started to do those things, I mean, they were genuinely harassing me and discriminating against me. And I started to record them to protect myself. Which actually it did give me huge leverage, and they backtracked and ended up shredding that defamatory letter. But so I encourage other people to do that as well. Like, don't hesitate to use the voice memos app on your phone and just hit record. And it's a protective thing to do for yourself. You don't have to ever let other people hear that. And I never intended for everyone to hear my recordings, but when I realized, these things that my bosses are doing to me, they're actually doing to the viewers. They're doing this harassment to keep viewers from knowing certain things. And so I thought it was a duty for my viewers to know. And maybe, you know, whatever journalist is in there right now might decide to let their viewers hear that as well someday. And all that's going to do is build more loyalty to your viewers, which was the original purpose with journalism. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to be, you know, besties with your corporate executives. Corporate executives don't care about journalism anyways. And they teach you about that in J school.
What do they care about?
They care about their bottom line. They care about making money, which is, you know, just scratching the back of their advertisers or their special interests. So it's this distorted, strange thing that happens in news. They talk about this in J school, where when you're most loyal to your viewers in answering their direct questions and providing them information that empowers them, that's how you grow your audience, which brings you bigger advertising dollars if you have a bigger audience. And the corporate executives have to understand that. But the corporate executive's first loyalty is to the advertiser. And so the advertiser has different values than the viewer. And so corporate executives put a lot of pressure on to do news that fits well with the advertiser. But then that alienates you from the viewer. And then you lose ratings, which loses you advertising dollars. And so it's this confusing thing where throughout history, I mean, there's been decades of journalists butting heads with the corporate executives on things like this. You know, but we've really watched it slip more than ever. It's where, you know, whatever the corporate executives say goes. And, you know, all this long list of questions that viewers are extremely concerned about, as they've seen America change so much since the pandemic. It's like those questions are out the window because, you know, it's no longer about them. So anyway.
Well, one last question. Is there somewhere that you could recommend the viewers go to get real information? For example, let's say that they're just watching CNN or just Fox and they're like, I feel like I'm not being told the truth. How can I look deeper into subjects? Like, how could they do their own research?
Yeah, sadly, people have to do their own research now, but go find your favorite independent journalists. A lot of them are growing huge followings right now. And, you know, obviously I'm going to say myself,
of course.
You know, so like watch CNN or Fox or both, watch CNN and Fox and then watch me because then you're going to see 3 different things because it was, you know, like the whole border, the thing at the border with the guys with the ropes, you know, CNN had it this way, Fox had it this way. Both of them, all they were doing was distracting the viewers with dumb, just gossip stories about, oh my gosh, I think this guy used his reins to whip someone. This is super racist. And then these race battles between Fox and CNN. And I'm like, you both, all you're doing is distracting the viewers. And it happened the exact same day as the Arizona audit, which actually unveiled a ton of election corruption, which was one of the topics Fox was censoring me from. I mean, I had all this election corruption evidence that Fox didn't want me to put out. And then here they go using some border thing to distract people. And then the independent journalists are left to cover what's really going on with the audit. So I did a big YouTube video breaking down everything going on with that audit. But, you know, so you can take a step back and realize that, you know, how much the news just creates controversy, like the guy on horseback, and to distract you from things that might matter more. Like, are elections real anymore?
Right.
You know, so
I'll get that link from you and I'll link that video down below so people can watch that. And I'll also have all of her websites, links, any way that you can go and follow her or support her will be linked below in the description box on YouTube, also in the show notes on the podcast and Spotify and anywhere where you listen. Ivory, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And we definitely will stay in touch. I can't wait to see just all the things that you continue to do and see you rise as an independent journalist and be really successful in your field, because I really do believe that when good people stand true to their convictions, that God will take care of them. I believe that fully. You know, kind of you were talking about like law of attraction. I believe that you are putting in the work, you're being true, you're staying in your integrity. And I think when that happens, things are going to work out for you. So I know you're already loving it, but I can't wait to see where you go.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. So
awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Evolve with Emily show. Do us a favor. If you enjoyed this episode, share it on your Instagram story. Please tag both myself and Ivory. Our Instagrams are linked below. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Evolve with Emily.